Welcome back to the COS Business Podcast. My name is Andrew Hasley, and I'm the host of the show. Today, I'm sitting here with Angela Layman, who is with The Source H2O and her band, CrystalEyez. You're the lead singer, right?
Yes, yeah. Lead singer, founder, songwriter, all the things.
Yeah. Do you play any of the instruments?
I do. I play guitar and piano as well.
Nice,
So,
yeah.
But I like to be able to dance and do my things, so only some of the time.
So tell us a little bit about The Source H2O, and then also a little bit about your band, because this is a business podcast, but I'm a firm believer that even in the arts, you need to treat yourself like a business, and that's the reason why there's so many starving artists, because they don't do that.
100%.
Yeah.
So on the Source side, I'll start there first. So The Source H2O is a local business. We've been in business for about 20 years. I haven't been with them the whole time, but our founders are Melissa and Miguel Favorel. So we're based out of Denver, and our big focus and mission is on sustainability and also health and wellness. So our big why is helping to raise awareness around water quality. And one thing that most people really don't think about, because they're like, oh, our water comes from the mountains and everything is clean and good. And unfortunately, that's not totally the reality. In terms of water quality across the nation, we're actually right in the middle of water quality. So, and the vast majority of our water doesn't come from the mountains. We think that it does, but really most of our water is toilet to tap. So it's all recycled.
A lot of water in America that is that way.
It is.
Now a word from our sponsors. The People's Tiny House Festival is the nation's largest gathering of simple living, featuring van conversions, bus conversions, and tiny houses, of course. Catch the event in Loveland, Colorado, July 16th and 17th at the Ranch Events Complex. Get your tickets at peoplestinyhousefestival.com/tickets. Power Toolsafe is revolutionizing tool tracking and protection for everybody. With Power Toolsafe, you can protect the equipment that keeps your business running. Go to powertoolsafe.com and start your new account now and register up to $10,000 in tools for free. Sheath Underwear has a pouch for the boys. It is everyday underwear for every man. 100% money back on the first pair if you don't like it. Visit sheathunderwear.com and enter the code COSBP20 to get 20% off your order. Recon Marketing is the fastest growing social media agency in Colorado. Recon focuses on becoming an extension of your business while providing social media management, review management, and digital marketing. Recon Marketing, putting you on the radar. Planet Duct offers astronomical air duct cleaning with the most powerful vacuum trucks in Colorado. They have taken air duct cleaning to a new intergalactic level that is far more powerful and proactive than any on the market in El Paso County or Southern Colorado. Reach out to Planet Duct for any of your air duct cleaning needs.
And so what we do is we love to just go out in the community, educate people on what's in their water.
The source.
The source. Yes, the source of all life, right?
Yes.
Exactly. And so we do free water testing for people. One really cool product that we're getting ready to launch that I'm super stoked about, we have a mission that we want to eliminate 1 trillion plastic water bottles by 2030. And so we actually partner with the Sea Change Agency and the National Forest Foundation. And a lot of these, we're always giving back to the companies that are impacting our environment the most.
Mission, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we're launching something called the Water Vault. It's the world's first portable filtered water cooler. And so it's the same size as a case of water, but it will filter 5 gallons of water at a time. So if you're camping or at a festival or anything like that, throw it in a lake or a stream or wherever you're at, and it's a cooler first, so you can actually keep all your drinks and stuff inside of it. But then after that, you can filter your ice water, you can filter the lake water. So we're hoping it'll make a big impact in,
That's awesome, yeah.
Everybody's been, and especially being a musician, you go to festivals and you see just piles and piles of plastic water bottles everywhere. So you'll see us all around Colorado. One of our big things for the summer is partnering with a lot of the local events, so that way we can eliminate plastic water bottles at those events and give out reusables and refill, so people have clean water. So we're partnering with Manitou and Colorado Springs and stuff like that. So,
oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Like with the city.
Yes.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to be, I know the City Auditorium is doing a series for their 100-year celebration, the Community Cultural Collective. So we're going to be partnering with them. We're going to be at Wine Fest coming up in Manitou in a couple of weeks, and a bunch bunch of different events throughout the
And
city.
that's probably where James and Tiffany are going to be there too, I bet.
I would imagine so. Yes, exactly.
Sweet.
So you can get some water and then go get a bunch of wine.
Yeah.
And then come back and we'll keep you hydrated in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the reusables, is that like a Yeti? Is that like a container that you just, do you guys provide those as well?
So we will provide at events like plastic reusable cups.
Okay.
Just because obviously giving a Yeti to the community, wish we could give everybody a Yeti.
Yes.
But anybody who brings reusables to any events as well, we can refill those too with RO water. So it's 99.99% pure.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sweet.
So.
Yeah, and being the source, it was actually funny, Marcus, because I already knew Angela, but I hadn't met her in person. But I went to go do photography for Nationwide, and the source was one of their vendors, and I seen her. Yeah.
It was like hello in the other realm of the world.
Yeah, exactly. In the physical realm,
Yes.
not the meta realm, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just
Very
cool, and
true.
while you were talking, it just reminded me of that, and I wanted to point that out. I thought that was awesome, and that's actually when we booked this specific episode about a few months ago, and we had already talked about getting you on the show. And it's funny, I've been doing this podcast for nearly 3 years now. Actually, I forget if it's past.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I forget if it's past 3 years or before 3 years. I don't really keep track.
Yes.
But when I first started, I had reached out to a bunch of people, and so some people, they have like an email that or a Facebook message that never got responded to about, hey, you want to come on this podcast that I'm starting?
Yes.
And then I'll meet them like a year or two later, and I totally don't remember sending like a message to them just because I was like trying to, at the beginning. It's funny because you have to really try hard to get guests, but when you do it long enough, you have to try hard to filter out guests.
Yes.
Because there's so many coming.
Which is a good problem to have.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Means you're building something of value.
I think so, and I'm excited, and we get to have people on who are doing things that bring value to the community, like you. Not only do you bring value with the company that you do, but you also. So is that company? Are you a representative or? Because you said it was founded by.
Yes.
Who is it founded by again?
It's founded by Melissa and Miguel Favreau.
Okay, sweet.
Yep. So they're the owners, and I oversee the basically Southern Territory.
Gotcha.
So,
Nice.
yep.
Okay.
And my big focus with the company is just really building awareness and getting us out into the community and different events, and really community partnerships is my big focus. So that way people can learn about what's going on in their water. It was funny actually because at the time when I got introduced to the source, I was restringing my guitar. Of course, it all comes back to music, right?
Oh yeah.
And they're like, just come in here and listen. Like, just listen to what we have to tell you. And so they were testing our water, and I'm like, I don't really care. Like, my water's great. I used to fight with my dad all of the time to be like, Dad, stop buying bottled water. Our tap water is so great. Like, you really need to stop. Our water's from the mountains. It's so good. And then we started testing the water, and the water in my house has twice as much chlorine as a pool.
Oh, twice as much.
Twice as much.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Testing it. Like I've not done that.
Yeah. It's and the EPA recommends a water test once a year. So if you've never had your water tested, we come out. We bring our little lab kit. I like to joke it's like Bill Nye the Science Guy, but for water. And basically we just test everything, let you know what's going on, and our goal is never to speak poorly of any of our water treatment facilities because realistically they're doing the best that they can with the equipment that they have. But that comes back to public funding and, what type of equipment are they able to get? And there's tons of new chemicals and substances and, forever chemicals, especially with all the fires that have been going on. All of those are starting to seep into the water tables. And so those chemicals, fire retardant chemicals, are not something, unless you have specific types of technology, those will never go away. And they're not something that we want to be drinking or ingesting or showering in, showering especially. The fact that blew my mind the most is that we actually absorb 64% more contaminants in a 10-minute shower than in the water we drink all day. And so we always think about what we're drinking, but not what we're bathing.
Like, is that like a national average because most people take showers more than they drink tap water?
Yes, it is a national average, but it's mainly because your skin is your largest organ on your body. So you're absorbing it and you're also inhaling it, especially if there's something in your water and it's getting hot and it's steaming, and everybody's water is different everywhere. So we always just say, get it checked out and, we can let you know if there's anything funky going on.
Yeah, where I'm from, Independence, Missouri, we pull our water from the Missouri River, but there's like this really awesome like water facility that has like so many treatment things, and
cool.
and I don't know if it's just a local myth, but everyone thinks they have the best water, so it may be a local myth.
I don't know enough about Missouri's water to say. So maybe it's great, maybe it's not.
Well, specifically Independence, because what it uses like some crazy filtration kind of thing that's like deep underground. I think they call them aquifers, or I forget exactly what they call them.
Okay.
And then it also goes through some crazy treatments. But
cool.
But yeah, I mean, now I got to call back home and be like, hey, is that water good?
Is it actually good? We need to get tested and find out.
Exactly. So that's cool. That's a good mission. I think that's great. I love companies that make an impact for the better. So that's cool. So tell us a little bit about CrystalEyez.
CrystalEyez, yeah. So I guess I'll go back a little bit before I go into CrystalEyez. So my background was in dental operations. And so I spent my life singing. I grew up singing. I was, putting on shows for my parents on the fireplace and handing out tickets, and music was just always a huge part of my life. And then I didn't want to be a broke artist, right? I was like, I don't want to be a starving artist, and I don't want to be a teacher. So I was like, I'll do the responsible thing. I'll go to business school. I was always very into leadership development, organizational development, all those types of things. And so I spent a decade running dental practices and dental departments and things like that. And I was really good at it, but I realized it wasn't the thing that filled my cup, and I just kept getting called back to music. And so I was at an interview back when I worked at Peak Vista. Louis Larimer, wonderful human being. He's like my adopted grandpa. He said, tell me what's not on your resume. And I was like, well, I love to sing. I'm a musician. And he said, well, do you want to start a company band? And I was like, sure.
A company band?
Let's start a company band.
That's such a cool idea.
That's such a cool idea. He's very he's from Hawaii, so he's very aloha spirit. He always used to say, we lead from the heart, not with numbers and equations. And I thought that's one of my favorite quotes that ever stuck with me, because obviously numbers and equations, those are how we run our business, but that's not how we retain people, and that's not how we leave a lasting impact, I think. So we started a company band, and we would play at, all of the different potlucks and award ceremonies and all these types of things. And we were just a fun little cover band. And then I was seeing Haley Reinhart. I don't know if you're familiar with her or not, but she's one of my faves.
Okay. Was she in a band?
She is, yeah. So she got her start on American Idol, and so she tours all around. Yeah.
Nice.
And I had seen a meme earlier that day, and it said, it was a football meme, which I really don't sports, which is why it's kind of funny that...
You don't sports?
I don't sports. But it was a football meme, and it said, some people go to watch the game, and some people wish they were playing on the field. And then the whole night I was at that concert, I kept thinking, some people come to this concert so they can watch the concert. And I go to every single concert of my entire life and wish that I was singing on stage and wish that I was back doing music again. And so the next day I was like, you know what, we're going to do the thing for real. And who knows what will come of it, but at least I'll know that music came back into my life in this big way. And yeah, so that's CrystalEyez was born.
And when was this?
That was, let's see, probably 2.5 years ago now.
Nice.
So yeah, it's been a fun adventure. We've gone through definitely some evolutions, and people told me at the beginning, the band you start with probably won't be the band you finish with. And a band is a really interesting business, because I've run lots of different businesses, but with a band, it's like your family and friends, so you have this very close, intimate relationship, but at the same time, it is a business, and you have to make tough decisions, and, you have creative discrepancies, and sometimes you can love the heck out of each other, but you just don't want to create the same thing. And I think that that's probably been one of my biggest learning lessons throughout this process, has been learning when to say, I love you so much as a human being, but maybe we're not meant to create together anymore. Because you're just kind of both working so hard, but you keep butting heads and you can't get to where you need to go. And so we've gone through different evolutions, and we have some different band members than where we started, but we also have a lot of the same band members. So so we've got some really exciting stuff in the works. We're We do have music on all the major music platforms now. So
good, yes.
Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music. You can look us up in any of the places.
Yeah. And what do you use to get on all these platforms?
Yeah, so we use DistroKid.
I was going to suggest that if you didn't, because that's the best, like, the cheapest. The person who used to own like CD Baby and TuneCore, they all recommend DistroKid, and they were like the previous founders of these other businesses that were very successful.
I didn't know that. That's so cool.
And it used to be really expensive to get your music on these platforms. Well, not really expensive compared to $25 a year, which is what DistroKid was and it's unlimited.
Yes,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
you were paying per album, per song, $50. It's like, and yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, I was gonna say definitely DistroKid is the way to go, and anyone who wants to get into music and wants to get on the major platforms,
heck yes,
use that.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great point you bring up, because I think that most of the world sees like, oh, this is the music you create, right? And you write a song and then you put it out in the world, and then like people will hear it and it will either go really well or really poorly, right? And I think that's the outside perspective of a musician's life, but the reality is that it's like just learning how to produce your music and where to record your music and picking a recording studio and then figuring out how do I publish it, and do I have my own publishing company, and do who do I distribute with, and how do I collect my royalties, and which do I want to affiliate with BMI, or there's so many things behind the scenes that in addition to just booking gigs and making music videos and all those things, and then on top of it, it's a marketing machine. Like, it's a crazy marketing machine.
Well, that's how you become very successful with music, is the right amount of marketing, the right partnership with different, like, it really depends on how it goes, and it's a journey, and it's definitely not for the faint of heart, and that's very, very entrepreneurial of musicians to want to go and do that as their career.
100%.
And it's just I love it, and I was a musician before I was doing business. Actually, I've always done both simultaneously.
There you go.
Now I think about it, but
there you go.
But yeah, and like,
you said you do hip hop, yeah?
Yeah. Well, hip hop music, producing, and just I don't really do music mainly anymore. And I thought I wanted to get back into it, but then I was like, I started like trying to record something, and maybe because I was trying to record something on my own, and I was like, I'm not feeling it anymore, So, and I guess that maybe when I'm 35, I'll get back in it. I don't know, but
who knows?
but right now, at the moment, I'm just happy with what I'm working on right now, and
cool.
Focusing on the video production and a little bit of software development, which I'm really excited about. So going down that lane, and
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been seeing you dabble more and more in the digital realm. I mean, obviously you work in the digital realm a lot, but all the metaverse stuff.
Oh yeah.
I don't know the right technical terms for
yeah,
it,
I mean, not necessarily metaverse stuff, but what I'm doing, but it can definitely lead to that, and having those skills will be beneficial as it becomes more popular. So,
cool.
And yeah.
Very cool. Fun adventures.
Yeah, so would you say you're the CEO and founder of CrystalEyez?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep, I am. So, it's been a fun journey, but it's been interesting learning a different business. Obviously, there's a lot of aspects of business that stay the same, right? Like, your profit and loss statements and, but the levers that typically apply in most traditional businesses, to move one thing forward or to increase your profit, they're a lot less predictable in the music industry, so you're investing money in a lot more of a hope for the future. I think it's definitely a very risky business, which it's not a surprise. Everyone knows that, right? But
yeah. And honestly, I think that all business is like that. All business is very risky, and there's a lot of things that aren't predictable, but there's ways that you can insure, in ways that you can reduce risk as much as possible.
Yeah.
And it's really stumbling in figuring out what those things are, and really building that foundation, I guess. And, And so in my opinion, I think it's just as risky as any other business.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That reminds me of a quote. Tom Bailu, one of my favorite quotes by him, is that failure is the most information-rich data stream available to us. And that's just one that always resonates with me. I think in any business, in any entrepreneurial effort, right? Failure is part of the process, like not ultimately that you will fail, but that you will make mistakes along the way. And, that kind of leads you forward to where you're headed next. I was actually co-writing a song on Thursday with someone new who I've never co-written before which was a really fun adventure. And I I in CrystalEyez generally write all of our music, all of our songs, and then I bring it to the band, and then we add all the musical parts and add all these different elements. And this was the first time that I've gone in with someone and we've just written something totally from scratch and totally co-written. So It was new, and I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I don't know what if I have nothing to say? Like, what if nothing comes out? But it did, and it worked really well. And so the point of why I'm telling you this is that as we sat down to kind of write and talk and figure out what we wanted to write about, we landed on, she's like, well, why don't we write a song to your dreams? And I think especially, this podcast, everyone who comes in here, right, has taken a moment at some point in their life to chase their dream and to say, hey, I believe in this thing. I'm going to follow this thing. Like, it's risky. It could go poorly. Like, it could blow up in my face. And there's a lot of scary aspects to it.
There's a lot of money,
Yeah, there's a lot of money. So that's what we ended up writing. And it's, I'm really happy with how the song came out. It's called Fly Away. I don't know when we'll be releasing it or anything like that. It's literally brand new.
Nice.
But
when was this you guys got together?
Thursday.
Okay, nice.
Thursday, yeah. And it's very different from anything I've written. It's very, I don't know, sweet. Like, that's really the best word I can use to describe it. And a lot of my other music is a lot more, I don't know, hearty, and like this song is deep, but in a different way. So I don't know. It was a fun new adventure, but it kind of.
I'd be interested to. I'm recently learning like coding stuff and how to access APIs.
Oh yeah.
And I've recently learned about the Spotify API. I'd be interested to see when I pull up CrystalEyez what categories Spotify puts you in, because they have really fringe categories, like it's just some weird names, for certain things. The way they categorize
categories.
Yeah. No, and I'd be interested to see where. And actually, that'd be good data for you to know, because now you can know. Okay, this is how an algorithm unobjectively is labeling us, and you can really see what. You can use that as some information, some data for marketing.
Yeah. Spotify's algorithm is, they say the best in the industry.
Yeah, for music, it can definitely get you discovered. One of the strategies is getting on playlists specifically, and the way to get on playlist, and maybe even creating your own playlist in hopes that they become big, but that's more of the hoping thing.
Yes.
So one of the less hoping thing is, finding the person who curates that playlist and, headhunting them.
Yep.
And, don't be annoying, but, be persistent.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And then there's all these, Playlist Push and Submit Hub and all these different places you can be submitting your music to, which, I'm not sure if I feel like those are totally worth the investment or not yet. I haven't played with them quite enough to figure it out, Sometimes I think maybe it's better to just go the old-fashioned way and just find them, but then you have to find all the curators yourself. So lots
So
of
what was the other
places to
two
reach out
that
to.
you said?
Submit Hub and Playlist Push.
Okay.
So those are both. One of them is more of like a monthly. It's like a flat monthly rate, and you can submit so many. And then Submit Hub is more like you're paying per submission. So just slightly different models.
Yeah. Those things, I'm sure you could extract some value from that, but for some reason in my gut, it doesn't feel like the best route.
Right. Well, and then you question like how many of them are, potentially, because you have to imagine.
Maybe they're bots,
Yes, exactly. Maybe they're bots. And you also, like, a playlist creator who's signed up with that company, how many submissions are they getting a day? How much of their song are you actually listening to? And then I've also seen some comments where you'll see your listens and your streams spike, but then if you deactivate your account, then all of a sudden they totally drop off. So it's almost like if you aren't ongoing paying for that service, then they're like, oh, no, this was just like a temporary thing. So who knows?
That maybe even in their fine print.
Yeah, who knows? So it's an interesting path to navigate, learning how to get your music played in all the places.
Yeah, well, are you guys using TikTok?
Yes.
Okay, I was trying to say that without sounding like Gary Vee. But specifically for musicians, that is the best platform to grow on, because so many of the biggest hits of the last 5 years were because they went viral and people were using them as TikTok, like the sound. You know? And so it's like, that's one way to use it, but it's like, every musician is doing that. So the market is saturated. So it can be hard to break out. So it's like, how do you do things like the sad face filter we were talking about,
Yes.
and adding that on there and like recording it in Snapchat, but saving it and uploading it to TikTok, you know? So because Snapchat has the best sad face filter.
We now know. This is what I learned this morning, the best sad face filter. Yeah, it's funny. I'll be talking to people and I'm like, oh yeah, I was just, researching TikTok this morning, and I laughed to myself a little bit when I'm like, no, this is legitimately for my job. Like, this is a real thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But it sounds funny to be like, sorry, I got to just go work on all my social posting.
Yeah.
And
it could be easy because it can be distracting and fun, and you don't want to go down a rabbit hole. You found some account. You're like, oh, that's a cute couple, or you're like, whatever, oh, that's a funny person. Oh, this comedian. You open their thing, and next thing you know, you're on an hour watching all their TikToks, So.
The endless stream. Yeah, it's so true. Well, and I think the other interesting thing for me, for the other fellow musicians out there who are, working on crafting the same thing is, it's easy to hop on these viral trends, but like at the end of the day, ultimately your goal is to wrap people back around to your music.
Yes.
And so a lot of the research I've been doing and podcasts I've been listening to and all those types of things, while we want to hop on these trends and use these sounds and stuff, like if you're not using them in a way that's ultimately tying back to your music, someone's going to love this funny video that you posted, but then they're going to go back to your main account and be like, oh, these have nothing to do with, the reason I actually wanted to follow you.
Yes.
Or the TikTok algorithm thinks that you're something you're not. And so then it starts, showing your videos to the wrong segment of people.
And then it stops giving you traffic.
Yep, stops giving you traffic. And then another interesting thing that I learned this week is that a cool thing about the TikTok algorithm is that obviously it's beneficial to have followers still, but you could have 0 followers or you could have 10,000 followers, and your initial amount of streams isn't impacted by that.
Yeah. It still has to be a good video, and it has to go off metrics. Yes.
Yep. So on, Instagram or Facebook, those are much more follower based, but on TikTok, a brand new account sometimes has even better of a chance of
exactly
going viral versus a really
and I'm glad you brought up that point. That is a 100% good point. And one way you want to bring it back, but you also want to be creating things that can get seen in front of more people, because ultimately if you get something that has 60 million views, it doesn't matter, but it does matter, because if you're playing the long game, in which you should be, maybe the best way to do that is setting up 2 accounts, one for the band, one for you, and linking and just linking them together multiple times, know, and having a more long-term strategy that's overarching. So you're on your personal account, you're doing these funny things, but then you are also doing things that tag CrystalEyez a lot, and in your link, you link up to your website, link up to your YouTube, link up to your Instagram. And so that way, these people that are following you on here, the percentage that really are, I guess, the true fans, as Seth Godin would say. And are you familiar with the Seth Godin concept of the 1,000 true fans?
Yes.
That's one book recommendation.
There you go. I haven't read the book yet, but I'll
well, the concept, all you need to know is the concept. I mean, that's really... and it may even be an article. I don't think I've even read it, actually. I've just heard people talk about it.
Yes.
So yeah, that concept of the 1,000 true fans is, basically you only need 1,000 true fans, and true fans defined meaning people that will go to all your shows, buy all your CDs, buy your merch, and just 1,000 consistent true fans. And that's really all you need to have a successful, fulfilling career,
Yeah.
And so it's it boil it down, connect it, link it, but also have things that CrystalEyez are doing, And if you're doing them as a band, but you're also doing the funny stuff, then people understand and know. So
and they get a behind the scenes world. I always tell the guys in my band, I'm not the funny, witty one. So I'm like, you guys need to tell me how to be funny, because I'm not really sure. They're like, you're funny, Angela. And I'm like, but I'm funny on accident. It's more people are laughing at me just because I'm a weird human. I'm like, I don't know how to capture my eccentricity.
Well, that happens to be the content that blows up the best.
I know. I just need to be recording it at the right moments. But we're actually getting ready as part of our next venture to start. We're setting up to start streaming online and stuff like that. And so we'll be streaming practices and songwriting and live performances. And I'll be streaming for the band and then also for my personal music, which is called Chloe.
Okay.
And so that way we'll be able to reach a more, national and international audience, where I can't announce all the things yet because it's not totally ready, but we're gearing up for a very large challenge next year. I won't give it all away yet, but it'll be a national tour that we're going to be trying to break some pretty big records. So,
Cool.
Keep an eye out, because soon we'll be in all the places online. So that's our, really another big step in our business strategy. So
Good. And 1 second, I want to double check to
Yes.
make sure you're not live streaming the whole time, are you?
No.
Okay, sweet. You just kept capturing content?
Yeah.
Sweet. I want to double check because I don't think I offset the cameras. I think I started them at the same time, and they're supposed to be
This
offset.
one's on.
Okay. And has it restarted yet?
I haven't seen if it restarted yet.
Okay. You can check on this to see if or you can check to see where.
1:30,
it restarted.
It's restarted, yeah.
And just making sure.
Just the timer on the top
Yep.
left. I gotcha.
And that's at 110. Yeah, they were offset enough. Good. Sweet. Just want to make sure. It would have only been like 8 seconds of. If it wasn't offset, it would have been eight seconds of blank screen, because they restart, but they have to have enough time to save the file. So you offset them, and you always have one camera going, and that's just what we have with our current equipment. So,
interesting.
So because these aren't technically video cameras, they stop recording at 30 minutes, but they can be used as video cameras.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
They are video cameras, but they're not like camcorder cameras where you
Sure.
can record forever.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah,
That makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes sense. I was like, what's the reason for that? And is that a thing I need to do? So
Yeah.
But I guess it depends on the equipment.
It depends on the equipment, and
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing some podcasting, like templates and courses, and putting some
Cool.
better information on that, so people can have the right equipment, or if they don't have the right equipment, what to do with it. That's for another project that I'm working on that I have to on the reps. So.
There you go. Yeah, equipment choices and
Yeah.
setup and all that stuff. It's a lot to think about.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to think about. I'm super grateful for. I grew up playing piano, and then guitar is newer to me. I've only been playing guitar for about 2 years. But I go to Silver Sound Guitar. Shameless plug. They're amazing. So if anybody's looking for
Okay.
any type of musical instruction, they do everything.
They're here in
there.
town.
They're here in town, yeah. So they do guitar, piano, vocals, drums, anything that you need, they have.
Nice.
And they're just really wonderful human beings, instead of being, like, here's a textbook and you're going to play Mary Had a Little Lamb until you want to cry. They're really focused on teaching you how you want to learn, and approaching it that way. But the point of that story is that the owner of that studio, and my teacher, Mark, I'm super grateful for him, because from the tech side of things, like setup and gear and all of that stuff, that is not my sweet spot. I hate that side of music. It drives me crazy. And he has been instrumental in guiding me through all of that and figuring it out, because it's a big undertaking, and there's a lot that goes behind the scenes to like make all of this work seamlessly, so that way it looks easy for the viewer.
It's a course. If you want to learn it, it's a whole entire semester, essentially. Or you could spend 8 hours or 4 hours just figuring out, do I get this microphone or this microphone?
Quite literally, yes.
Yeah.
I remember it was probably, 3 years ago now, and I was sitting in for a jazz set at Motif with Rob Landreth and oh gosh, I'm spacing on the other names. Anyways, we went over to practice, and the drummer, Bob Eli, that's it. And he goes, which microphone do you want? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, these are the types I have. And I was like,
different voices work better for different ones.
Yeah. He's like, you're a singer. This is your instrument. Like, you got to pick the microphone you want. And I was like, I'm like a kid in a candy shop. Like, I get choices.
You weren't used to having choices.
No, I'm like, I like the microphone people give me. Like, whichever one you give me is the one that I like. And then I was like, oh, I have so many choices and all the things. And in the end, I spent all this time picking a microphone. I don't think it was the right choice, but say lovey.
Yeah.
So now we're looking again. So yeah.
Okay. What microphone was it?
So it is a Shure. Oh God.
Is it for stage or is it for recording?
It's for stage, but it's
Okay.
interesting because it's set up to be a stage mic. They say you can use it for the studio too.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those like looks very old fashioned, kind of like what you'd see like an Elvis mic or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But most venues I've gone to, we had a lot of feedback issues, and they all say it's because of my microphone. But
Well, if they're all saying it, yeah, maybe.
so I stopped using that one, but then I've seen all these other artists who use the same mic, and I've been like, do people tell you get feedback from this mic? And they're like, no, I never get feedback from this mic. So
You know, sometimes you can get a really expensive mic and then buy the $20 cord or the $10 cord, and that could be the reason.
Yeah.
So it's like you if you buy an expensive mic, you can't cop out on the
No,
cords either because
you can't. That's
you just
true.
basically ruined the whole mic, you know.
Yeah.
So you're probably maybe get like, and also those $80 cords, the ones that are more expensive, they last longer. They're more robust. But
Yeah.
they're built better.
Yes, that's very true. Well, and I mean, I'm a very dynamic singer, like, so I cover like a very wide range, and I can be very loud at certain times. So it
Yes.
might just be that mic is maybe a little bit better suited for people who stay in like a similar or smaller dynamic
Yeah.
range.
So you need something that has like a better compression, I guess you could say,
Yes.
maybe built into it. But
Yeah, because I'm like from here to here, and it's like, whoa, that was too much.
yeah, because
So,
that's what a compression does is it helps stabilize that dynamic range. And dynamic range, I know we're saying a bunch of technical stuff.
I know people are like, okay, skip forward. Sorry, guys.
No, I love getting into the weeds and diving into all this stuff because it could potentially make a good clip, but also it could potentially help someone too.
Absolutely.
So it's like compressors bring that range down to a more stable range, and so it's not like, because what would happen is the engineer or the person at the venue, if you don't have a good compression going on, they're gonna have to ride the knob every time because you're gonna get quiet and then,
Yep.
like, you're gonna have to boost it up.
Down, up,
And then,
yes.
and that's basically what a compressor does. Is
Yep.
it takes the knob and it automatically does it in a sense. You know, that's
Yeah.
kind of how a good way to look at it, because it's basically someone riding at the knob, because that's how they used to have to do it, you know, until
Yeah.
like I think Max Martin of the Beatles was really who pioneered a lot of the engineering
Interesting.
stuff. He was their producer. Like he
Interesting.
pioneered a lot of sounds. He was like back in the 60s, he was like, yeah, we can take a piano and we can make it sound like a guitar.
What was the movie we were watching just the other day? Oh my gosh, I can't think of. It was a documentary on.
I think I said Max Martin, by the way, and that's a totally different person. He produced most of the 90s hits. That's Max Martin. And he's
Okay.
Swedish. That's a different guy.
Okay, there we go. I can't think of who it was now. They were one of the. Oh my gosh, what a time to draw a blank. One of the bands who were really popular, like they were like the start of disco. They were really known for like their falsetto. I cannot think of it.
Oh, the Bee Gees, maybe?
Yes, the Bee
Okay.
Gees. Thank you. Thank you. But it was interesting because we were watching when they made the very first Looper.
Okay.
And so it was literally like, I mean, it took almost the whole room, and they were literally like looping tape on like this giant thing. And now, you know, we like press a button
Yeah.
and loop, you know, as many things as you want to. So it was crazy. It's interesting to see how these things started, because I mean, it takes a lot of time to figure out the technology that we have now, because we have so many options, but to think, of how they created some of this stuff initially is crazy.
Yeah.
To think like, hey, maybe if we take this and we loop it through this physically, then maybe we can make this sound. I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
It was an interesting documentary. I recommend it.
Yeah, I love studying all that stuff. I was into audio engineering and all that stuff because I was wanting to produce my own music.
Cool.
I was the kind of guy that was like, I just don't want to have to pay a crap ton of money to have my music produced.
Yeah,
So,
that's fair.
so I built my own studio and like had all this stuff and like really studied like the way audio waves work, the way you hear that feedback?
I do.
Yeah, that's ironic. Yeah, just studying. That was probably a phone, actually. That sounded like a phone signal.
Yeah,
coming
I was
in.
gonna think that it probably was.
Yeah.
I'm blaming it on yours though, because mine's over there.
Yeah,
so.
mine's like right by the source. So yeah, and I totally just got distracted. But yeah, I was really studying audio.
Yeah.
And really how to create good music that sounds good. And another thing about the compression, like in live performances, having like compressors, maybe like a subtle compressors, but compressors aren't really as important as when you're producing music.
Yeah.
Because you have all the sounds around you, and you need to make sure that the vocals are higher. And maybe I'm wrong because I didn't do venue stuff. I did
Sure.
studio stuff, so I knew that. But
Sure.
to make sure that it sits at a higher level and doesn't get over like whelmed and like drawn out by the or drowned out by the
all
by
the
the
other
music,
instruments.
by
Yeah.
the other instruments, you know.
Absolutely.
And what's cool is you can take the compressor and you can take the EQ, and the EQ kind of helps cut out the lower waves that aren't being used in a vocal, but also boost up the higher waves.
Yep.
And you can also scoop out different things in different instruments so that your vocals sit in there right and sound really crisp.
Yes.
You can punch it, make it like hit, hard.
Yes.
And it's just all this fun stuff that I think is interesting.
Yes. It's interesting. I think that originally when I first started getting back into music, you would just think of the actual musicianship side of it, like playing it well enough, singing it well enough, those types of things. But realistically, I think being an excellent musician is important, obviously. Like that's tier one. But being able to produce your sound in a quality way is honestly, I think even more important, because you can be a great musician and you can have your levels set improperly. You can be using the wrong equipment, and your performance is terrible, so like your audio quality and how you're running your sound is just as important. And as you were talking about, learning about that side of things, it kind of reminded me of, delegation has been a thing that
important. Yes.
that I've really been, honestly has probably been my biggest struggle in the music business, because I want to learn all the things. And I'm like, I feel like I need to know all the things and I need to have my hands in all the pots, right?
But do you think Katy Perry knows all that stuff, or any like massive major star,
Right.
They don't. They outsourced it. Or Juice WRLD, he credited a lot of his success to his producers, because he's like, they make me sound good.
Yeah, exactly. They do. And the reality is, like, you only have so many hours in a day, and I think the interesting thing about especially working in the creative realm is, when you're, I don't know, running ARs and, calling on accounts receivables and all these types of things, you can realistically budget how much time that's going to take. But when you're creating something, it's a little less certain, and I don't think creativity can be rushed. And so, I'm like, oh, today, here's a new song. I just thought of a new song. Well, I'm going to spend the next 6 hours writing this song, which I didn't plan for. I didn't know this was going to happen today.
Yes.
And I can't really... For me personally, I can't just press pause on it and be like, oh, I'll come back to this 2 weeks from now, because it's like, it's here now. Like the creativity is here. So if I overfill my schedule, which I am the best at in the world, then I don't have time to create. And so for me, it's learning, to say, hey, this is something that I need somebody else to help me with, or, these are the things that my other members of my band is going to take over and stuff like that. And we recorded our last EP at Han Audio in Denver. Another awesome plug. Totally go check him out if you guys are looking for anywhere to record. But our songs, we'd been playing some of these songs for at least a year, and they morphed entirely once we were actually in the studio, and they changed so much. And so it's exactly true,
Yeah.
As much as, yes, do I not always want to spend the money on it? For sure.
Yeah.
It's not the cheapest venture in the world, but worth every penny.
Yeah.
And the quality we get out of it. And like, speaking back to microphones, like, I've been so spoiled with that microphone now.
Good.
I want to record every song in the world on that microphone. So, but yeah, that's a thing. And I mean, I think that's true in any business, right? Learning what you can let go of and where you can trust. And I mean, it's a simple topic that obviously everyone talks about, how are you delegating and, speaking to each other's strengths and all those types of things. But I think it's especially in the entrepreneurial world when these are our babies, right? Like, these are our passion projects and our life. It's hard to let go. It's really hard to let go.
Yeah, and that's what I'm working on too as well with other things. But I think specifically for producers, another important aspect is finding the person who knows the right sound. Finding the right person is important, because someone who's just you're just another client, or maybe they do hip hop, or maybe they do something else, and like that's what they specialize in, and maybe they're really good, but having the right sound, because a producer, like you said, will basically define what the sound sounds like. Because there was this thing I did when I was learning the audio engineering. It was called dueling mixes, and we would take the guitar tracks, the drum tracks, the raw recorded audio, and different producers would produced the song, the actual soundtrack,
Oh, yeah.
and they would take it in and add their own. There's a lot of creative decisions that happen in and when you're
100%.
putting the mix together, and
Yes.
like whether you want to put like maybe a smooth crackle of a record, like a vinyl record.
Yes, I actually did that at the beginning of one of my songs.
Nice,
so it's funny
good.
that you mentioned that.
And, so like a lot of those decisions are made by the producer,
Mm-hmm.
and so it would be interesting to see these dueling mixes, and they would be the exact same recordings, but they would sound so different because maybe someone puts like a ducking on the kick drum where it like punches harder, So it's
Yeah.
like all this stuff. So it's important to know, and
It
I
is.
think the producer is the fifth band member. They call that one guy in the Beatles the fifth Beatle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very true. And we actually, when we were choosing recording studios this time, we went and toured a bunch of different studios, and it was, you kind of get the debate of like, do I want the like big flashy, like, the one that has like the most giant mixing board and the big glass wall, and like I get to feel like
Yeah.
a super cool rock star because I'm in this giant studio, but is that going to be a studio that's just going to like push you out because they, or is this a person who's really going to care about your music and care about your career and care about your journey, And so, I completely agree. Like, not only finding somebody who's the right, musical style, but somebody who actually is going to be invested in the project and not just feel like, this is just another exchange of the day.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing. So choose your studio wisely.
Yeah, and choose your producer, and I think it's good to work consistently with them, especially as a band. I think rappers, they have more freedom to. It depends on the artist too as
Sure.
well. I know Kendrick Lamar, he goes in there and he's like part of the creative process of what instrument goes here, like
Sure.
all this stuff. But like
Sure.
I think rappers have more freedom when it comes to choosing the producer because they're mostly just the vocals, and so the band's already there because it's a beat,
Yep. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so it's an interesting aspect. It can go either way, actually, to be honest. So
Yeah.
I love hip hop artists that use bands as well too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. I have a couple of friends who are DJs as well. And so they're kind of starting out their DJ careers, and they're very like EDM focused. And so it's been interesting like collabing with them too, because I've also learned that to a degree, like DJs almost speak music in a totally different language. Like they view it very differently, and they're working with it's so digital, and so I'm speaking in, chords and key signatures, and they do speak in chords and key signatures as well too a little bit, but it's been interesting, especially when I was green in songwriting and they're green in songwriting. We'd like come together to collab and be like, well, I'm speaking Italian and you're speaking French, and neither one of us knows how to speak the other one. And so it's been interesting watching as we've both grown. Now we're getting to a place where we can collab a little more easily. But at the beginning, it was
like
kind
the
of
DJs at the
interesting.
venues.
So they well, no, not necessarily.
Okay.
So they're like they're EDM music producers.
Oh, okay, got
And
you.
so like
They're helping you produce music, is what you're saying? Or
No, they produce their own music.
Okay.
But theirs is more like dubstep and that kind of stuff. And so then I'm like sitting in on certain songs, or we're trying to collab on stuff.
Okay,
But,
some collaboration working
Yep,
on, yeah.
but
I
they
think
just
your
approach it
voice
very
with
differently.
like a good like EDM thing going on in the background, that would be awesome.
yeah. So hopefully Chloe will have some of that side of things.
Yeah.
We have some things in the works too. So yeah, it's been I joke at the beginning when we first started CrystalEyez, people were like, what genre are you? And I'm like, I don't know. So we used to say we were polygenre because we just couldn't make up our mind.
A lot of businesses make that mistake, actually. It's like, who's your customer? Oh, everyone's our customer.
Everyone. And I'm like, I don't know. It just depends on what comes out
Yeah.
that day. But we've decided CrystalEyez is indie pop rock. So that's the realm we sit in. We do some blues rock and stuff like that too. And then my personal music, I don't know. It's all over the place. I've got some EDM collabs, and then I don't know, maybe some like Colby Calais vibes. And so I don't know, my softer, lighter.
I actually
side.
know who that artist is because one of the first songs I learned on the ukulele
Yeah.
was a song of hers. Like the person I was learning ukulele from was like online. Like he just had
Okay.
a bunch of YouTube channels, and it was like 2009 too as well. So it was like
love that.
he was like the only one.
There you go.
So it's like he would just teach different songs, and that was one of them. And
Oh,
like,
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know some really random songs just because of him.
Because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in high school, a Colby Calais song was one of the first like songs that my friend and I think he played ukulele and
Nice.
I played piano, and we did it at a talent show.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely.
So what are some of the ways you're going to plan on growing CrystalEyez as a business? How are you going to? Yeah, what is some of those strategies, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, obviously we have live shows. That's always, an ongoing thing. So you can always follow us on all the social media platforms, or on our website as well too. We'll keep you updated of shows around town and stuff like that. We have our merch, of course, as well too. We actually did make CDs this year, which I guess we'll see. I only needed to sell 14 to break even, but I figured we did actually have some people ask for them. So I was
and it feels good to have physical copies.
Yeah.
And when you're doing live shows, that's where CDs, can be awesome. I think having like a unique product would be awesome too.
I've been debating and I haven't done enough research to speak well to this, but obviously like NFTs are becoming a big thing, especially in the music world, world too. So eventually possibly breaking into that. But I mean, our next big venture really will be online streaming. Okay. So that way we can grow our fan base and really connect with them in a different way. So that way when we do go to do our record-breaking something next year, we can connect with a lot more people. So that's our next big hurdle, I guess.
And what is the strategy behind that? How does that grow your following?
Sure, absolutely. So, I mean, obviously similar to like your podcast, right? It's all about consistency. So that's one big thing, because obviously we already have our rehearsal times, and then we have shows, and on that in and of itself is time consuming, and then practicing outside of that. But people need to know, when can I come and sit with you? When can I listen? Kind of giving them the behind the scenes of like, hey, this is what our songwriting process is like. These are some of the songs that we're working on. What do you think about these? And so just giving people a place where they can come and they can talk and they can, chat with us, build that community. Yeah, exactly. And obviously, if we're just playing in Colorado Springs and Denver, that's great, and in Colorado, but that's only giving us exposure to the people in these cities for the most part. And so by streaming online, we'll be able to, connect with people. I was telling you earlier, ironically, like I've gotten a lot of traction from people in like South Africa. So I don't know if that's a trend or if it's just a random one-off thing right now, but it'll give us a chance to connect with fans across the country and the globe outside of just our independent releases. And then from a content strategy, I think the nice thing, kind of going back to TikTok, how I was saying, it's challenging for me to capture those like random funny moments that just occur sometimes without planning them. But I think the great thing about streaming also will be now I have, an hour or 2 or 3 hours worth of content that I can now break up into tiny segments. And so now I have TikTok content. I have, I have YouTube shorts, I have reels, and I have all of these, different chunks of content that I can now break down and I can publish in different ways and places. Cause that's been honestly my other giant struggle is producing enough content. I mean, they say you should be posting, to make like a decent impact in the TikTok world, 8 to 12 times a day. Yeah. 8 to 12 times a day. Like, I mean, sure, if you're just hopping on there and like, I don't know, recording your random thought of the moment, sure, that might take you 2 minutes. But when you're editing audio clips, from a 5-person band, that 15-second clip could take me 3 hours to make.
There's different strategies. I mean, too. I mean, I think having, when it comes like maybe eight times a day, 4 times a day, whatever, maybe have those well-produced ones. And then you have all those extra ones. Yeah.
Absolutely. A mix of those. So that'll be a big piece of it is we'll be able to do that. And then obviously as your base grows, and one area I haven't really delved into yet much is Reddit. That's a big thing that's another big thing on my to-do list. Reddit and Twitter are my untapped social media platforms.
Maybe starting out, just focus on one of them and make that one work, and so that you're not overwhelmed and you don't spread yourself too thin. And then once that one works,
that's fair.
Build out to that.
That's fair. That's a good idea. Maybe I'll focus on Reddit and then work my way to Twitter.
Yeah.
So, because from what people tell me, Reddit is like a really great place, but you have to be, engaging in enough subreddits and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so. I mean, like Reddit can actually, produce some eyeballs, I guess you could say. But
do you do anything with Reddit for your podcast?
No, I don't actually.
No?
I could.
Okay.
We could really dive into that, but I'm just focusing on other things.
Sure.
And yeah, that's just about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a million ways to do it.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So yeah. So really, building the social platform. And then the nice thing about that, and we are going to start really tapping into more email marketing and text marketing and stuff like that as well for the business. It's, there's structures and systems we've like started to dabble in, but we haven't fully executed on yet, and that's another big thing. Just like with any other business, not only is it how are you gaining the attention of your fan base to begin with, but it's how are you engaging with them consistently? How are you reminding them about upcoming shows? How are you letting them know when you have a new release?
Yeah.
Are you changing out your banners on all of your social media platforms? And email marketing. I know people still say email marketing is one of the most effective ways.
It can be, yeah.
I know it can be. I'm curious to see how texting will go because I know, like, for me, email marketing, if you're marketing to me through email, you're not going to accomplish anything.
And if you set it up as marketing, the filters will put you in the spam folder too. So you got to actually, like, don't put, like, a bunch of photos in it. You got to put, like, text, make it look like you're emailing a person.
Yeah, and then is it whitelisted? Is that the right word? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's been a while since I've had to set that piece up, but that takes you out of that folder.
Yeah, you got to make sure that it's not going in that folder. And there's certain things you can do that can easily get you in that folder.
Yeah.
But there's ways to get out of that folder as well, too. And when in 2015, I went to Chicago for like this conference for musicians where they were studying like how to grow your following. It was by CD Baby, actually.
Oh, okay.
Which was the predecessor before DistroKid became kind of just totally like obliterated them with their business model.
Sure.
And maybe they've been doing some things, but Sievers is the guy who founded that. I forget his name, his first name, but Sievers is Derek Sievers.
Okay.
And he's an amazing entrepreneur. I think he like made $20 million and gave it all away,
wow,
or something like that.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Like he took a note from Bradley from Sublime.
Okay.
But we were there, and one of the main things they were saying is like build your email list. It's like you can build off of that, and we didn't build an email list, but
yeah, exactly.
But it seemed like they were talking about MailChimp and all this stuff, and
exactly,
setting all that stuff up. But yeah, do you have a website?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
yep, CrystalEyezBand.com, and it's CrystalEyez EYEZ. So it's like Crystal Eyes, but with a Z at the end.
Yes, and for the audio listeners, or for the, I guess, visual listeners too, because I don't edit in that stuff.
Yes,
but
exactly. Absolutely. Yep, CrystalEyezBand.com. So you can follow us there. You can sign up for our email list there. But so that's another big piece of our strategy is kind of rounding out our communication methods. So not only growing, on our social platforms, but social platforms are a little bit unpredictable, in how who's seeing your posts,
or capturing it. Say you grow a TikTok following, it has 12 million followers, and then one day TikTok shuts your account down. So
and then it's gone, and you've lost all your people.
Yeah, so you want to make sure you're siphoning that following as you're going, not like being like every single post, but you want to make sure every few posts that some of them are, driving people to your Instagram, driving people to your email list, driving people everywhere, so you're diversified and you're not vulnerable to one platform.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really great point. So that's a big part of, where we're focused and what we're working on next. So that way, because I get people all the time who are like, yeah, let me know when you have the next show. And I'm like, I just met you at a coffee shop. Like, I'm not going to, I can't text you and you and you and you. And so,
but you can put them in a list.
Exactly. I can put them in a list. So that's become a
and automate all of that.
Automate it.
I'm really learning a lot of automation, before delegation, and then I'm gonna delegate.
Yes, automation before delegation.
Yeah.
There we go.
Or maybe both at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Yeah, put it on a t-shirt. Yeah.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I would say that's a huge part of our strategy for this year. Because the goal, obviously, right now, we're starting to make our mark, and there's a lot more people who are aware of who we are and stuff like that. But, in the grand scheme of things, we're still relatively small.
Yeah, you're still a startup, essentially,
Yes, exactly. We are. And so, building structures and systems so that way, as we scale, or building structures and systems that will scale with us.
Yes.
So that way, as we grow, we'll be able to keep up with all of it. So I would say, jumping into new platforms, and then also building structures that will scale with us, that allow us to consistently keep up with our fan base and engage with them. are really our big focuses for the year, and creating new content, obviously.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's actually why I asked about like what's the strategy behind the streaming thing, because I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And you inquisite and you figure out.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so at first I didn't get it, but as you started explaining it, I was like, oh, she's using the pillar content strategy, where like that's going to be your pillar, and then you can build off of that, and that can be all the other stuff, and like you said, capture those moments. And it clicked as soon as you said like you break it down, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense now.
Absolutely.
Because in my mind I'm like thinking, like, obviously until you build the community, people aren't going to want to tune into the live stream, right? Like people would rather see you live, or when I listen to music, it's when I'm feeling like it's based off of a spontaneous moment,
right?
Not go listen to a live stream when they're streaming moment. Cause so it's like, but I do feel like there will be people that will, but I think the best part about that strategy is the pillar content idea,
Yeah. Well, and the nice thing too is that as that grows, I got this idea from my guitar teacher, because he used to do it a lot actually.
Nice.
But then you have, similar to like Patreon, certain people are gonna, tune in and be like, hey, like here's a donation for your work today. And then, as you grow, then similar to your podcast, you have sponsors,
and
right?
those streaming
and
things,
advertising.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I got excited. Those streaming things have things built into them where people can send you stickers that they paid like 10 cents for,
exactly.
20 cents for, 80 cents for.
Exactly.
And like, they're just like gifts essentially.
Yep.
And on TikTok, they have that streaming thing, but YouTube now utilizes that. And YouTube's recently put out an update where they're letting people do something while the stream is going that allows you to get paid.
Cool. Interesting.
So it's like, it's just going to be awesome and better ways for creators to make money. And so on TikTok you have to have 1,000 followers before you can go live.
Yes.
But it's an awesome, it's great.
Yeah, and they say that going live, especially on TikTok at least, the way that the algorithm works, like it will, you'll be shown to a very different audience and a larger audience than through your normal posts, which I think is interesting. I also learned that that's true of banners, like your Instagram banners and your Facebook banners. Though your banner changes are more likely to be shown to all of your followers than even your posts. So using your consistently.
That's a little growth hack. I like that.
Yeah. So making sure that you're changing out your banners as an advertising mechanism. Is something really that everybody should be doing. And I don't think that that's something that a lot of people are tapping into, because it's not something that I see done a ton. But I do notice that when I change out a banner, I do tend to get pretty good engagement. So.
And that makes sense actually, because it has that reach, it's like, it gives it probably gives the reach more freely than it would be on a post. Yeah. Because it's like, this is an important thing for this page,
Yes, exactly.
It ranks it higher, I feel.
Yeah, exactly. So little growth hack.
I like it. Yeah,
absolutely.
And I just posted last night a little growth hack on my Facebook.
Oh, cool.
Facebook recently introduced Reels natively on their platform,
did they?
And not everyone actually has access to it. It's only like they're still slowly rolling it out.
Interesting.
And one of the interesting things about it is it's just another platform for you to have the stickability, which it uses the same algorithm as TikTok does and as IG Reels, but it's separate from IG Reels. It's its own thing natively. But one thing it has that none of the other ones don't have, and we haven't even brought up YouTube Shorts, which uses that same algorithm. These are vertical video strategies, but they're tied behind an algorithm that gives you distribution like no other channel on these social medias. Yep. And on Facebook, specifically on the Facebook Reels, they allow you to put clickable links in the comments. Oh, so like
money.
On TikTok, you can't click the link. Like if you put a link in TikTok, no one's going to go to it because they can't access it. So it's like on Facebook, you can click it right there and it could take people to it. And I seen a couple people doing that. Like say one of your Facebook Reels gets like 16,000 views, and you have a link in the top comment, maybe some people there, and now you just drove a bunch of traffic to your website, drove a bunch of traffic to your ClickFunnels, to your
huge.
Spotify. You could put your music page on Spotify specifically there.
Absolutely. Having a place to add links like in your social platforms, that is such a legitimate challenge, because for instance, even on TikTok, like making the decision, do you keep your TikTok as a personal TikTok or do you change it to a business TikTok? because when you're first getting started, when you switch to a business TikTok,
I stay away from that.
you lose access
Yeah.
to basically all the viral trending sounds. And so, but it allows you to have a clickable link.
And it allows you to see insights. You
Yep,
know?
exactly. And so like that's such a debate. So it's really cool. I mean, that's one reason that I love posting stories is because I can actually have a clickable
add a
link
link,
on
yes.
it. You know, so it's little things like that especially when people are branching into like becoming a creator for the first time, like those little things take a really long time to learn. And you know, I think one thing that was super helpful that I learned, you know, I think about a month or two ago, is when you're on that last screen of your TikTok, if you go into the full screen view, you can screen record basically the whole TikTok. And it will keep the audio and it will keep all of your like your subtitles, basically your fully edited video, but there's no longer a TikTok branding on it.
Yeah. And TikTok's the only one that does the branding. For a while, Instagram Reels put their branding on it, but they took it away.
That's true. So for anybody, like if you're cross promoting or using your content in multiple places, make sure to do that before you post, because then you'll be able to use it in
and TikTok doesn't let you save it beforehand. What's cool about Instagram is on Instagram Reels is what I'll do is I'll save it and then I'll create it in Instagram Reels and then I'll put it on TikTok because I know it doesn't have that branding. So I natively create it in and maybe the algorithms pick up on those things too. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've heard obviously like that you don't want to take TikTok and cross promote to like Instagram Reels because it won't trend as well. I don't know if that's true, but that's
I mean it's
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe as well, but it's it could still work, I think.
So that's interesting. I'll have to check out the Facebook one because that is something that like obviously when you're posting on Reels, it gives you, you know, let it be shown on Facebook, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your followers are seeing it. So then I end up reposting, but it doesn't.
They created an actual like place in Facebook, and
is it called Reels still?
It's called Reels still, but within those streams, like it does say allow it to be posted on Facebook,
right?
And for like the last few months, I never really knew what that meant, where it was going, because it didn't really go anywhere. But what they were doing is they were building a database, and now that I have access to it and can see it, if it was posted on Instagram, and some of them are, it'll say, but if you go to the comments, it'll send you to that Instagram app.
Interesting.
And so it's like got to be natively posted on Facebook.
I'm eagerly awaiting for, and maybe you've found a platform that does this. I haven't found it yet, but something that will allow me to pre-schedule all of my like Reels and TikToks.
Oh yeah, Reels and TikToks. You could code that probably, but
yeah, I can code it. Yeah, I know. That's like the one thing that I'm like surprised it's taken so long for that to be. I mean, I know you can get schedule reminders, but it's still.
Yeah, there's the schedule reminders thing, and exactly like for the people that don't know what we're talking about, there are scheduling softwares that allow you to schedule posts and stuff like that, but they are limited on scheduling Reels. Yeah. And there's one thing I've learned recently, a software called AutoHotkey. It's free. Okay. But you have to know a little coding. Okay. And it will control anything on your screen, and it could be used for nefarious purposes. Okay. But it could also be used to automate so much stuff. Cool. And yeah, but that's like hiring a producer. Like, if you don't want to go down that, do not do. You're going to spend a lot of time, and you're going to have to go through a whole nother semester of learning something else.
A whole nother semester, right? Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, but I mean, I'm learning it, and I think it's going to be learning coding is going to be very beneficial for me for the rest of my life. So I'm excited.
Absolutely, very cool. Yeah, very cool. There you go.
Yeah. So. Yeah, we've been having a good hour-long conversation.
Perfect. Wonderful.
Is there anything else you'd like to promote or let people know?
Let's see. So obviously give us a follow, CrystalEyez Band. Look for the little butterfly. That's our logo. We have new music releasing in just a couple of weeks. We have another single coming out, and then our full EP will be releasing in about a month. So be on the lookout for that. We have 5 new songs that have released this year. So go check us out. Let us know. Comment, share. Unless you hate it, then go away and don't talk to me. Just kidding. Yeah. And then we're always posting about our upcoming shows too. So we'd love to hang out with you and see you at a show. I don't know how soon this will be released, but we'll be at Armadillo Ranch next Thursday, and then on June 2nd, and then at the pub on Carefree on June 10th. So come hang out with us. And if you want to get your water tested, the Source H2O, give us a call. Mention that you met us here on the Colorado Business Podcast, and we'll also throw in a free crystal water bottle at your water test. So
nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sweet. Yeah, well, this has been a great conversation.
Definitely.
A lot of clips could potentially come out of this too.
Very cool. Perfect.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was a ton of fun. So
Definitely. All right. Well, this has been the COS Business Podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next one.